Hello, colleagues who have joined us recently, and thank you all who have been staying with us from the previous talk. It's a BA Excellence Conference, and that is conducted by the Global BA community. Before we start our event and our session, I would like to mention that we have virtual room where audience is welcome to join and ask their questions to the speakers or discuss some topics. In addition, we have a couple of separate webinars that are related to our conference that we have in parallel today, or that will be held on a separate day on November 21st. You can find all the needed links in the description of our stream below. Please join and enjoy. And now I would like to invite our new speaker, Shipra Kayan, with the topic Going from Idea to Execution in Miro. Shipra is the principal evangelist at Miro. Previously, she was head of UX at Upwork and Miro and design thinking coach in companies like Apple. Hi, Shipra. How are you?
Hi, Katya. Good. I'm doing well. How are you doing?
Great. I'm fine. Maybe I can ask a quick question before we will start to give a couple of minutes to join us. And I would like to talk with you about maybe innovations, because innovation is an integral part of today's fast-paced landscape. We have to be flexible and be able to adapt quickly. So, how do you generally feel about such rapid innovations? Maybe you know some bad examples of all these innovations around us.
Yeah, innovation, there is a lot of pressure on teams to innovate. And, especially with AI and all of the macro environments, I actually think, obviously when you innovate or do something creative, you're going to release something to the world that doesn't work exactly like you intended. But the bigger problem, I think, is when teams get very defensive. Like there are teams that didn't innovate, like companies like Blockbuster, right? Like that didn't innovate. And then a company like Netflix, which was a small, tiny startup, can come and disrupt their business. So I feel like that is something that we need to be more concerned about rather than doing the wrong thing is like not doing anything at all is a problem.
I absolutely agree with you. And I suppose at today's conference, like a product-centric approach, it's also like a new wave of all these innovations around us
Yes.
and a new wave of flexibility for our IT environment.
Yes, absolutely. And I think a lot of sort of companies are thinking about what does it mean to be product centric and you are really, I think that means also being outcome centric, right? So a big conversation around right now is how do we be more outcome centric, less output centric. So it's less about project management and more about creating sort of thinking about your product and constantly improving it and constantly innovating on it. Yeah, that's something we take very seriously here at Miro, and we see all of our customers are also really thinking about that. Like that's why they leverage Miro is because they need to get teams together to be creative and to innovate.
Great. So, and I hope that today you can share some experience from your Miro side. And before we start, just a couple of additional technical moments from our Global BA community side, and then we will start. The session is being recorded, and the recording will be available a week after the end of this session. After our presentation, we'll have a Q&A session. You can send questions to the chat or leave them on the agenda page. So feel free to ask your questions or express your opinion. And also, please rate our talk if you liked it and put your likes here in our YouTube stream. And now I suppose that we can start our session. Shipra, you have the floor.
Thank you. Thank you, Kaya. I'm going to share my screen so that everyone can see what I'm talking about. All right. there you go. So, as Katya mentioned, I'm a product designer. I've been in design for a long time, and I'm now the design evangelist at Miro. So, I spent about 20 years of my career sort of doing design and also helping teams, product teams, engineering teams, and design teams to go from some vague idea in their head to actually building the product and helping them through that process. That's usually called product thinking or design thinking. And as about 10 years ago, I found Miro, and I was one of the very early users of Miro and leveraged it throughout my process. So that's kind of really the background that I want to come here with, which is both like how do you actually make something very vague like an idea concrete, and then how can you leverage Miro to do it with because in today's reality, the reality is our teams are hybrid and distributed all over the world, and we need tools in order to be able to work together. So a bit about Miro first. Miro's mission is to empower teams to create the next big thing. And what Katya was mentioning in terms of innovation being so critical, we see that around. So when I'll show you the product and I'll show you my process. But as we're building Miro here at Miro, we're really focused on innovation, and we're focused on teams that are trying to innovate. Because what we see in the market, exactly like Katya said, is that all executives at big companies think innovation is critical. In fact, this McKinsey survey says 80% of executives say innovation is in their top three priorities. We did also our own pretty broad survey here at Miro, and we found very similar numbers. Between 80 to 90% of executives at companies think innovation is even more urgent now than it was, let's say, 3 or 4 or 5 years ago. And that's because competition is heating up, technology is changing so rapidly, the landscape is changing. So everyone kind of really agrees. I don't think I could put 100 CEOs in a room and they would agree on anything else, but they agree that innovation is really urgent. Um, but yet, what we see is that most executives are dissatisfied, even though they've prioritized innovation. They're dissatisfied with their organization's ability to innovate. And so much so that actually many of these CEOs, about half, almost half of the CEOs think that their companies will cease to exist. They will not be relevant in another sort of 10 years if they don't innovate. Uh, and what we see, at least here in our surveys and in our data as we talk to our customers, is that generally teams are facing three big challenges when they try to innovate. They either have tools that don't talk to each other. So a lot of times I'll talk to designers that are using Figma or Sketch, or product managers using PowerPoint and Word documents, and engineers that are using Jira or Azure DevOps to manage their work. And these tools, they don't have access to each other's tools. They don't have access to each other's documents. And so the knowledge is sort of distributed in different tools, and people can't come together to really discuss things as a team. And you don't have creativity when you don't have multiple perspectives. Um, the second challenge we see is that distributed teams can lack some shared context, right? So if you're having teams that are not in the same office all the time together, they lack shared context. If you have team members that left and a new team member joined, they lack the shared context of what is the history of decisions and principles that have gotten you to the point that you're at. And finally, we see external pressures to do more with less. So this is referring to both sort of layoffs that we're seeing in our industry right now, but also sort of the competitive pressures of having to move really, really fast. And so with these in mind, this is kind of the challenge set that Miro is focused on. And this is where I want to focus my time with you, is thinking about how can you create an environment where your team can innovate, where your team can go from an idea and not just have it be an idea, but go and execute it. All right. So I know that folks on the stream, you all have different levels of experience with Miro. But I want to talk to you all a little bit about what Miro is, and then dive into showing you how you can use Miro to go to do your product thinking or design thinking exercises. So I'll stop presentation mode just so you all can see. I'm in a Miro board right now. This is a Miro board, and for people who've used Miro, you probably think of Miro as a whiteboard, right? It's we've got like our shapes and stickies, and you can sort of bring people in and collaborate on Miro. But over the last 10 years, Miro has extended. We've built lots of applications, integrations, and features onto Miro that make it far more robust. And that is some of what I'm going to show you today. So the way that Miro works is, there's three parts to it. One is how do people use it? So teams use Miro for throughout the product development lifecycle, from strategy to your solution design to actually executing the solution. But the basis of Miro is our capability bundles. So as I share with you more details of how you can use Miro throughout your product lifecycle, you'll see these six capability bundles, or six sort of sets of features and functionality areas of innovation for Miro show up. So Miro is investing a lot in product development workflows, and that means supporting you in your agile work, including integrating with Jira and DevOps. I'll show you some of that. We're investing in diagramming. We're investing a lot in workshops and asynchronous collaboration. So how do you get teams together to collaborate both synchronously in a meeting and then asynchronously, which I think is like such an important thing that not a lot of products are solving very well. We are using generative AI in Miro to automate and reduce some of the manual work. You can integrate with your data visualization software to bring in your charts into Miro, as well as do some lightweight project management if you're not using a project management tool. So just as you see Miro, I want you to look at it beyond the sort of basic whiteboard and see sort of all of the ways in which you can leverage it to really bring your teams together. And finally, Miro is enterprise scale, so it's built on a scalable platform that has enterprise-wide security. So that's a little bit about Miro to set the stage of why we're here to talk to you. But let's talk about you. So it's not about Miro, it's about you, it's about your work. And the discourse in the product management sort of space right now is how there is a move towards agile, there's a move towards product-centric thinking, there's a move from, as we were discussing, outputs or project management to outcomes, or actually helping the customer do something that they need to do. But there's this kind of discourse of like, how do you then go, if you want teams to be agile and autonomous, how do you do this idea to execution cycle in an iterative way? If you ask a designer like me, I would say, well, use the double diamond. And many people on the stream will probably be familiar with the double diamond. If you're not familiar, what the double diamond represents is a design process where when you start with, if you have like a very early opportunity or idea, the first step you do is you understand the problem. So you diverge, you gather a lot of information, and then you converge, you define a problem area or a space that you want to play in, and then you diverge again, you ideate solution ideas, and then you converge again and you build one solution. So you can't build like 50 things, you build one thing. So you go through this process of diverging and converging multiple times in order to come to the best, most creative, most innovative solution. So this is what I would say, right? If you ask me, how do I go from idea to execution? I might say, do the double diamond. But in reality, what I see is, even though this is the ideal process and everyone knows it, what happens in reality is that probably as a BA or as a PM, what you're seeing is throughout the quarter or throughout your half, you probably have a lot of incoming product feedback. You have feedback from your customers, from your sales team, from CEOs. And we see this, product managers are barraged with so much incoming feedback. And some of them have spreadsheets, some of them, like, you have various ways to keep that feedback, but a lot of it, like, just is in your email inbox, just dying usually. And then suddenly it's roadmap season. So you get everyone on the team now has to produce a roadmap in a week, right? Like, and that becomes your focus. So when it is roadmap season, there's there's no like direct link to all the incoming feedback to road mapping. A lot of times road mapping happens in a hurry. It just is something that needs to get done. And then teams start focusing on delivery, and we see this cycle over and over again. It also has, I used to do this also in my previous life when I was building products. And what happens is there's a lot of fear in this process. So when it's roadmap season, I'm not thinking what is best for the customer or what is best for the business. A lot of us are incentivized to thinking, can we commit to shipping this? Because a roadmap is about what can you ship. And then we start focusing on, we got to ship it on time. And so much of our lives is spent in this output mindset versus the outcome mindset of, are we solving the right problem? Should we stop doing this? Even though it's on the roadmap, can we like just not do it? And after we ship something, did we solve it? Did we actually solve the problem? How do we need to iterate on it? I feel like we're far too focused on this fear-based, output-based mindset. So this is where I see teams that are trying to harness this chaos and trying to make sense of it and trying to weave product mindset throughout that process. They're doing three things, and these are the three things I want to focus on today. One is when you're kind of doing your road mapping, anticipating it, and they're doing road mapping workshops with their broader team. So not just the product manager, but with your marketers, salespeople, your designers, your engineers, everyone coming together to doing road mapping together so that all ideas and inputs are taken into consideration. The second thing that I see teams doing is design sprints. So once you have sort of your opportunity areas identified, leveraging design sprints, which is a 5-day process, and I'll dive deep into this a little bit. So leveraging design sprints to go and actually prototype ideas. And finally, user story mapping. So this is a way of taking a solution and actually converting that into stories that you can then put in Jira or DevOps to execute on. So story mapping is like a very nice structured process, because otherwise sort of it's one person sitting and trying to develop all the user stories, whereas story mapping can be a collaborative process with your entire team that takes the customer's journey into perspective. Right. So this is where I'm going to spend most of my time talking to you about how you can do these three steps in Miro. Yeah. Let me know if you have questions, if you're seeing questions in chat, if you want me to pause at any time, please let me know. Otherwise, I will keep going. All right. We'll start with road mapping here. All right. And this is when I'm going to show you my own road mapping process that I've done with previous teams in the past. And I've also included some ideas that I've seen out in the wild that I think work really, really well. So this is what a road mapping board, my road mapping board on Miro might look like. Gonna hide this notification. So as you can see, my Miro boards can get quite wide and extensive. But something that I like to do every time I have a big board is to have a little table of contents. So what I do here is these are just sort of shapes that I've linked to different parts of my board. So I like to put a little sticker from our sticker packs. I don't create these cute things. I just look for like a sticker that says start, and then I just pull it in to my board. But this is so when I share my board with other people, they know where to start. You can see my process here as well, where that I do strategy first, then the roadmap, and then go to the features. And then the way I've done this is I've linked each of these sections to different parts of my board. So if anyone wants to go to the roadmap, they can click right here and they'll be taken to the roadmap. All right, so the way to do this, in case anyone's interested, is let's say if I wanted to link my roadmap, I can copy a link to any element on a Miro board. So here I'm selecting the roadmap, I'm going to copy the link to it. And then and I can paste the link um, to it here. So I'm going to select the shape that I want to paste the link to, and then I'm going to select link to, paste the link, confirm, and then this little arrow signifies that the link is to another object on my board. So now if you click it, you'll go to that object. Anyway, so that's just how I like to organize big boards as a quick tip. But let's say I was supposed to come up with a roadmap in a week. What would I do? Well, the first thing I like to do is have a Miro board for my product area that includes where I keep collecting all the research and strategy that I'm seeing out there. All of those incoming pieces of feedback. Like I try to keep organizing them in a Miro board. So in my research and strategy section, generally I have some kind of PowerPoint. So I know a lot of people use PowerPoint for information, and all of these PowerPoints are always like kind of lost everywhere. Within Miro, you can embed your PowerPoint. You can drag and drop it in, or you can link to it in OneDrive. So now I have my live sort of PowerPoint strategy deck, whatever is relevant to my road mapping, right in Miro. And that way, when I'm finally ready to do road mapping, I have all my documents together. So I have the PowerPoint, I have voice of the customer. So this is generally stuff that I might have heard from the customer support reps. I keep that, I try to organize it with my team along the way. And then any personas and journey maps. So keep like documenting what part of the journeys we're doing well, what part of the journey we're not doing well. So the more I can keep all of the incoming feedback organized, the better. Along with my journeys, I personally also like to look at the qualitative data and the quantitative data together. And lately at Miro, we've started launching integrations with various BI apps. So in this case, you can see this stock chart, which hopefully you're not looking at stock charts in your work. This is live from Tableau. So this is live embedded right from Tableau here. So I can look at sort of what is the qualitative feedback, what does conversion look like in terms of numbers. And I also like to just have my data all in one place. So what this helps me do is when I'm doing a road mapping workshop, I can bring the team in and we can all do a wall walk. We're looking at all of this data together. So a few quick tips here. If you have data, let's say in a spreadsheet, right? A lot of times tickets come in a spreadsheet, or if you have, let's say, survey results in a spreadsheet, here's a tip. So this is a survey, let's say, that I did. So this is a survey that I did. And what I've done here is I've color coded the survey by the role of the person responding. So you can see here, purple is design leaders, green is researchers, and pink is designers. So I can color code my survey, any kind of spreadsheet that you have. I'm just showing you a survey. I can color code it by user type. And then, the most important part of a survey is that the field where people can type in like an open text box, right? They can just say in open text how they feel about your product or what their problem was. What I can do here is I'm just going to copy the cells. I'm just doing Control C or Command C and copying these cells. And I can bring it back to my Miro board here. So in my research and strategy section, I would just go in and I can paste those cells. So I can choose to paste it as a table or as sticky notes. So here I will choose to paste it as sticky notes, and you can see, voila, I have all of those open text box responses and sticky notes here. And now I can start doing some analysis. So if I multi-select a bunch of stickies here, I can start clustering. And in Miro, you can cluster by color, by tag, by author, by keywords, and by sentiment. In this case, I might start clustering by color. And so now I know already that blue, let's say green was researchers, and blue was leaders, and pink was designers. So now I can start seeing, oh, what are the different roles saying about my product? And let's say I'm really interested in designers, I might bring that down and say, okay, let's cluster by sentiment and see kind of what do designers like, what do they not like. So now I can start kind of looking at the data in various ways. So just wanted to share that. I mean, something else that you can do with the new AI drop that we had at Miro. I'm going to go back here. Let's pretend that I just pasted all of these verbatims. Now, this is a lot of data. Let me give myself some room here. This is a lot of data. It would, take some time to like try and make sense of it and organize it into themes. And so the first thing I use to take a first pass at data like this is to cluster data by keywords. So here I can cluster by keywords, and this is Miro kind of using natural language processing to go through and find common themes in the data, common keyword areas. So here you can see Miro found a few different similar ideas. So this one says Miro, it's all the stickies that say how Miro is easy to use. This one also says how Miro is easy to use. So if I was trying to make sense of this data, I might, put these two together since it's all similar. Maybe I see something about templates. Okay, they like the templates. And so I can get kind of an initial clustering of what people like and don't like about Miro in this way. So there are lots of tools to bring your customer data into Miro and then start making sense of it and synthesizing it so that by the time you're doing your roadmap, you have all of this data. In my case, I would probably ask my team to walk through this data for a few hours so that they're really deeply entrenched in what does the customer need, where the customer is having problems, and then we can go ahead and ideate. What should we do? What should we do this quarter? Ideate, vote, cluster, and then prioritize. So you'll see I never start from scratch. I always use templates. And I love this 2x2. So I'm going to just look in templates to show you which one I used. Anytime we have ideas, this is the template that I use, the 2x2 prioritization method. Anytime we have ideas that we need to prioritize, you can use a matrix or whatever framework you have. I like 2x2s, so just a basic effort impact matrix to start thinking about where is it that we should focus. Like in this case, my team ended up focusing on this stuff. So we did go into like do it next a little bit, but we didn't do our moonshot idea, for instance. All right. So once you've kind of gone through your road mapping, once you've got your ideas, the next step is to put a roadmap on paper. A lot of times I find that ideas, you're not really sure how long it'll take. You're just making a guess on how big it is. And I think this going through this effort impact matrix can start to sort of make you, start to give you an idea of like how big a project might be. But what you can do here is if I have my prioritized ideas, let's say these are the 4 that we prioritized, can copy it, bring it over to a road mapping table. And then in Miro, you have sort of two kind of basic objects. I would say stickies are good for like really quick data, and then you have cards. And I just converted, and I did that really quick. So I'm gonna do it slowly. If I have a sticky, I can convert it into a card. And now this card gives me a lot more areas that a lot more facets, metadata that I can set. So I can start putting some metadata here. I can assign this to myself. I can add dates. I can add a definition of done, etc. And so these cards are kind of richer sticky notes. They are also the elements that will integrate with Jira when you need to. So here you can see now that I have a card, I can like kind of bring it in and decide, when are we going to do this? Which team is going to do it? What are the dependencies? And you can see in some of the cards here that these are actually Jira issues shown by the Jira sign. So if I open this up, you can see actually the Jira issue that this is associated with. All right, we'll go into Jira in a bit, but this is generally the process for road mapping collaboratively that we use. Now, once you have, I'm going to go back to my visual here. Once you have sort of an idea of the areas in which you want to do work, the next step, generally, let's say you have a project that you've prioritized, you have a team. A lot of times that team will meet 1 hour on a Monday to like discuss what they should do, and then they'll all like go off and do their own other things. They'll be in other meetings, and then they'll meet again, the next week for an hour. And like you're only making progress by an hour a week on a project that you're trying to deliver in a quarter. And a lot of times that means that people just feel stressed by that time. You're towards the end, or by the time you need a solution, you're just like kind of making it up. You're not really thinking about it. You're not diverging. You're not creating multiple ideas. You're just like, just doing, you have one person doing the minimum they can to get to a solution. And that doesn't really bring you to the best, most customer centric idea. So design sprints are one way that you can solve for that, and kind of get the team together, get some focus time to focus on one idea and build a prototype. So if you all haven't heard about design sprints or seen what design sprints are, it's basically a 5-day process. So you get a team together of 3, 4, 5 people, maybe 6, but you get a small team together and you use for 5 days. And throughout that 5 days, you go from your initial idea, and the process shows you how to do it. But you start with a little quick map, like this is a very simplified journey map, to sketching and ideating, to prototyping, and actually doing some user studies to see what customers think about your prototype, all within a week. So theoretically, by the end of the week, you will have made a lot of progress. You'll have made like a month worth of progress on this project, but in a way that's actually collaborative and comes up with like more diverse, more interesting solutions than if you were just doing it in a stressful mode. So here I have my colleague on this board, Taram, to help me demo some of the features that I wanted to demo here. First of all, the first part of a design sprint is, and again, like some of you may know this from agile methodology as pre-mortems, but the first part of a design sprint, I like to ask the team, what is our long-term goal? Imagine that we ship the best product ever. What are we going to unlock for our customers? And teams have a really easy time answering that question. But then this is the second question that I asked teams, which is now get really, really pessimistic. Imagine that we fail. What are the big reasons why we would fail? What are the big questions we need to answer? What are the big things we need to get right? And this part, I find that a lot of teams have a hard time answering a question like, how could we fail? How might we fail? This is a very vulnerable moment. If you just tell people, come on a Miro board and write stickies, a lot of people may not write anything, or they may be watching to see what other people are writing. And so we've introduced a few features in Miro to help make this process more collaborative and reduce groupthink. And I will show you a few of those. So if I was bringing teams together in a Miro board to ideate, the first thing I would do is start private mode. And in private mode, uh, basically what it does is I can see in private mode what I'm writing, but I can't see what my team members are writing. So it creates a very focused view of Miro. So I'm going to turn on private mode, and generally I would also turn on timer. So I would say, okay, let's do 4 minutes. I would pick some music. There's music integrated in the timer. And I would just start the timer. And then I would say, all right, team, come on in. And you can see now I can't see who else is on the board. I can't see what my other team members are writing, but I can see what I'm writing. I am worried about. So here we are all writing, how might we fail? Will customers use this? Will people pay for it? So as you can see, I can write my biggest fears, and my teammates are writing theirs, and I can't see who writes what. And this kind of experience creates like some like a safe space for you to be able to think without being distracted by what are other people writing. Am I saying the right things, or what will other people think of me? There's none of that. So I'm going to turn off private mode now. I'm going to turn off the timer um, just for the sake of time. Turn off private mode, and once you turn it off, now it'll reveal what other people have written. So definitely try private mode if you're using Miro for um, any of your brainstorming situations. So here again, I can't tell which team member wrote what, but at least now I know what are some of the key concerns. When I do this with teams, I like to also, once you have sort of, one thing that we struggle with, of course, is once you have all of these stickies, like what do you do with it next? So again, with Miro's clustering, I've started using that in a lot of my meetings. So I'll cluster by keywords. And so these are the notes that my team had created for this design sprint that I'm showing you. And you can see some of their concerns. Is there a clear value prop? Can we make it so? Can we make it really easy to onboard? Will it be simple enough? Will team leads, will they learn a new tool? Is it going to be better than other tools? So you can see some of the themes that start coming up. A lot of times also at this stage, I might ask my team to vote and see what are some key ideas that are popping up. So in Miro, you can now also use the voting widget. Again, this top middle bar is where I'm using all of these things from. So with the voting widget, now I can ask my team to just say, okay, what are the top 3 things that you think we should be concerned about? And that way, if I have a large team, I can start to see what are they concerned about. So I'll just quickly demo for you what this might look like. So if I start a voting session, everyone on the team can then start to vote and use that 3 votes to say, these are the things that I'm really, really concerned about. And if you have a big team, you can, if you have like 5 people, and I don't mean 50, if you have 5 people, you can start to see some of the themes in which themes where people are feeling some of the pain, some of the worries. You can start to see kind of what is bubbling up in terms of areas that you need to focus on. All right, that's one part. the next part for us in a sprint is always to map out what is the product that we're trying to build, the experience that we're trying to build, and with Miro, it's pretty easy to map things. So I can show you something here where, you know, something that I use a lot is if I have, let's say, if I pull in a shape, let me just start from scratch here. Let's say I pull in a little shape to start drawing a diagram, and this is the first step. I can use these little blue dots to make some quick uh, diagrams, some quick shapes. So it's pretty easy to like quickly start connecting things or creating things. And I can change any shape into any other shape. So there, it kind of makes it easier for me to like um, start drawing a diagram here. So anyway, diagram journey mapping or mapping the flow is a big part of any solution. So this is a early stage of let's map the flow. Where should we focus? What is the hardest part? Do some how might we brainstorming. Um, and this is the part where we're really thinking about the customer. We're really thinking about who are the customers, what is their experience. Um, then we can go ahead and look at some inspiration from the world and sketch. So something that's interesting about sketching, I still believe in paper on pen sketching, even if you're not a designer. It all you need to do is do boxes and arrows and text. You got to use real words. I don't like, dashes or lorem ipsum. You got to use real words because words are the main part of how we communicate with users. And here you can see there are two different people's sketches. This person just took a picture of their sketch. So even though I can zoom in and read it, you can see sort of their paper, you can see the lighting is different. This person here also just took a picture of their sketch, but you can see that it looks kind of like it was scanned. So they used a scan app. You can use like a Google scan app, or if you have an iPhone, there's a scan feature on the Notes app that you can use for this. So yeah, so we do sketches and then we, put little blue dots and talk about what we really like and what we don't like and what really works. Um, and once we do this kind of deep analysis of what are the different people's ideas, we get a diverse set of ideas and we can start looking at what are the highlights, what are the features, ideas that we want to keep. The next step is to build a prototype and then to test it with actual users. And so when I'm testing with users, I saw you previously had a session about why you should bring engineers into user testing. I think this is so important. I think the entire team needs to be there. And the way I ensure that is I make sure that they take notes in Miro. So I usually will ask my team to take notes. Here I'm using a note taking template. So you can see my 5 user participants and then my team coming in and taking notes here. And I think, if they don't take notes on Miro, they'll be taking notes on Word docs and sending me multiple Word docs that is just like hard to make use of if you don't have enough time to read through everything and dedupe. But the thing that makes it really easy, I think, to take notes in Miro is if I have a sticky note and I'm typing, I can just hit tab and tab and tab. And I can like start kind of taking notes where without leaving my keyboard or using my mouse again. So it's really not that hard to take notes. So I have my team come in and take notes in Miro. And then the other thing I do is have them tag the note. So I'll create some tags for them and they can create their own tags, but I have them tag the note based on which page the feedback was from or what was the idea or theme for that feedback. And then what I can do at the end of the user study, let's say you very quickly you're able to get feedback from these 5 participants. I can then take these notes that my team hopefully has done a good job tagging and cluster by tag. So now I can zoom in and see, as you can see, my team wasn't great at tagging these, but now I can zoom in and get all the feedback on the landing page. And then I can, get all the feedback on the preview page and all the feedback on the matrix. So it just helps me in the analysis of all of this feedback from users. Um, and then we, as a team, we come together, we ask ourselves, is there product market fit? Can we help our users do all of these things that we want them to be able to do? And we make a very clear-eyed and like honest assessment. Did we actually solve the problem? This is when we ask that. And remember, we're only on day 4 or day 5 of uh, working on this idea. So it can be sort of a really quick way to get customer feedback, ensure you're on the right track, and then think about next steps. All right. The final thing that I want to show you on my design sprint board is a lot of times we'll do these processes and then we'll have a leader come in and ask us, hey, what did you find out? What did you think? And I would send them my Miro board and they'd be lost. They're like, what is this giant Miro board? Like, where am I supposed to look? So we also recently launched this feature called Talk Track. And again, all of these features that I'm showing you are in the top middle bar here, toolbar here. Talk Track allows us to create, will allow you to create a walkthrough, a video walkthrough of you walking through the board, and it's embedded in the Miro board itself. So here, after I've done the sprint, I might send the leaders in our team a quick video walkthrough of here's what we learned. And if I'm going to play it for us, and you'll see how it works. Basically, let me make sure the sound is off. Basically, what you're seeing is I'm talking about here's what we did, here's what we learned. You can see my cursor moving. At any time, the person can pause the video and they can zoom out, and if they have questions, they can pause it, they can look here. If they have questions, they can add a comment for me and tag me. So this is a live board where they can still interact with the board, they can still zoom out, but whenever they're ready, they can return to me and see what I have to say about next steps. So that's kind of the talk track feature. It's being used quite a bit for many use cases, as you can imagine. So definitely try it out. It can help reduce meetings and help make your Miro boards easier for others to follow, right? Like we know our big boards, but others don't. Okay, that was a lot of speaking. I would like to pause here for now, and make sure that I'm taking questions, that I'm making that I'm answering any questions that you all might have in our last 10 minutes together. And I'm just going to leave the slide up. This is some of your team, Miro team here at EPAM. So definitely reach out to folks later on. But Katya, I'll pause there because I think there might be questions.
Yes. Firstly, thank you, Shipra, for such a wonderful session. I'll definitely take a lot of tips to my work, my daily work, and in general for the whole life, because we can use a lot of ideas to combine something to create a new, I don't know, also ideas and etc. So thank you so much. And yes, we have a couple of questions, and I suppose that we can start our Q&A session. And our first question, do you use usability testing on prototyping stage? We have our own tool inside EPAM, but what tool do you prefer in your team and why?
Yeah, so yes, definitely do usability testing throughout the process. So uh, definitely on prototypes as well. So in terms of tools, I personally, if there are designers in the room, they tend to use Figma or Sketch. If we're using Sketch, we use Envision to make a prototype out of it. Um, And for the actual testing, there's I know there are tools out there, user testing, Dovetail. For me, I am fine with using any software, video software that transcribes. So I use Zoom with transcriptions, so I can export the transcriptions and look at them later. So maybe I'm not like using some of all of the latest tools, but I've heard Dovetail also is a really great tool for that.
Thank you.
Did I answer the right tool question, Katya, or is there
I hope so. Yeah. So
okay?
if our colleagues will have another questions, you can see the contact here, so you can ask directly or clarify some points. So yeah, also it will be helpful. Uh, Another set of questions. So our colleague has three questions. What is your suggestion to save this for future as an artifacts? Any period of lost time inside of Miro, I suppose. And what is the data security you have inside of Miro?
Yeah. So, well, so definitely, I really firmly believe artifacts are very, very important. And the reason that I like using Miro for these tools, for these processes, is actually you don't have to document anything. You don't like it; just like automatically creates a trail of all the key decisions that you made, so that when you have someone new coming in to your team, like you can kind of drop them into a board like this, and they can see like here's the context, here's the ideas that you didn't do or deprioritize. So I think of Miro as really a strong artifact. Um, and in terms of security, so if you are on an enterprise plan, I mean, so we take security very seriously at Miro. We are used by 99 of the top Fortune 100 companies, so we have to kind of abide by their very stringent security criteria. So if you have an enterprise plan, I would say like again, like your IT team probably has looked through data security. If there's a specific question there, I can answer that. But overall, we're enterprise grade secure, uh, and and definitely your IT team will have scrutinized it very deeply before allowing you to use it.
Thank you. Our next question. Do we have an option to integrate other tools in Miro for dynamic data progress? For example, integrate a Power BI and able to see live analysis in Miro instead of opening Miro.
Instead of opening Power BI, yes, absolutely. So specifically on Power BI, if I'm not, I would have to look at our roadmap, but overall, for data tools, we do have live integrations, and you will get to see live data. And the benefit of that is, not like not everyone knows where to go and click where to go in Power BI to look for certain charts. But if you, as the BA, can embed your key analytics charts here a lot in Miro, then the rest of your team, like your marketers, your engineers, can also see like here are the 5 things that are relevant to us. So it becomes kind of like a dashboard, but like a qualitative and quantitative dashboard. So yeah, I'm pretty sure Power BI is available, but I may have to get back to you. I have to look at our release schedule.
Great. Our next question. Can you describe an example that inspires you when your or another team turned chaos into understandable flow or future list?
Turn cards into.
Chaos into understandable flow. Like a lot of mass information, a lot of
Mm.
I don't know, sticky notes, ideas, feedbacks, and etc. And maybe you have some real expiring for you example when you turn all this mess into an understandable flow or feature list.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Yes. So, I mean, I have so many Miro boards with lots and lots and lots of sticky notes. And uh, s- I guess I have three tips for that. One is um, to not do it alone. So I will it's very common for me, if I have 1,000 sticky notes, I will bring like 5 people in and have them help me to start to organize them. So if I have something like this, I will have other people come into my board and we'll start to organize the sticky notes. So don't do it alone, is tip number one. Tip number two for me is always to use a framework to organize it. For me, it's journeys. I always organize stickies by the customer journey, especially if it's about pain points and challenges. Once you start organizing it by a customer journey, it doesn't have to look nice. It just needs to be organized in that fashion. Um, and then and then finally, the final thing there is to ensure that it's actionable, right? So a lot of times the best time to ideate solutions is after you have really immersed very deeply into all of these problems and challenges for your customers. It's not like 1 month later, let's come together and ideate. No, you need to ideate the next day. So whenever I'm kind of organizing stickies into a journey map, even if there's no roadmap needed for the next few months, I'll have the team generate immediately some how might we statements, and I'll show you in my journey example. Of course, this is a very simplistic journey. All of real, I guess in your real world, it'll be harder. But immediately, I want my team to start thinking about opportunities. What are some ideas? What are some how might we's along this journey map? So never stay in the problem space. You have to come to some ideas. So those are just some tips. But yeah, this it's a messy process. I think it's okay. Embrace the mess, and it's good that it's messy because the best ideas, the most like surprising ideas, will come from just staying in that mess for a little bit, just staying there, not feeling uncomfortable.
Thank you. And our last question for today, really a nice question. And what is your favorite feature in Miro?
What is my favorite feature? So my favorite feature in Miro is the music in the timer. So like you can turn on the timer and you can pick music. And there's multiple reasons. First of all, I think the best part about Miro or any meeting is when people are working together in silence. Like you don't have to speak, because when you're speaking, only one person can speak at a time and not everyone feels comfortable unmuting and speaking. So the best reason to use Miro is to give people multiple ways to share their ideas and to work together. So whenever the timer is on and the music is on, I know we're actually doing work, and we're doing much more work than we would if we were talking. So like for me, I'm like, I need to use the timer.
Great. Thank you, Shipra. I cannot see any other questions, so we can close our Q&A session. And now I would like to say huge, big thank you to you for such a useful session and for sharing your experience and knowledge with our audience. And also, I would like to thank our audience for joining us, watching, and asking questions.
All right. Thank you, Katya, for having us, and to the broader EPAM team, because it's really a group effort here at Miro. So thank you.
Yeah, thank you. And I want to highlight one more time that the conference is being streamed from the official YouTube channel of the Global Bay community. And here you will find recording of our past events, interviews, and a lot of other cool content. So subscribe to this channel and also follow us on Facebook and LinkedIn. And all links are in the description of today's stream. Join us and stay up to date. And in continuation of our conference, please join our next session on the topic The Road to the New Product Thinking for the Whole Team, How We Do It, which will begin in a couple of minutes. See you soon.